We're going to hear from the whole team in just a moment. First, though, going to check with Zyrene for his initial reactions from the North American All-LCS kill leader, Doublelift.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. North America, your 2016 Summer Split Champions, TSM! Now, Doublelift, it's been a year since you've been able to put your hands on that trophy. How does it feel to finally be able to hoist it up once again?
Oh man, when I still stand by this one. The first time I won in Season 5 Madison Square Garden was like probably the best day of my life. And then losing narrowly in the finals last split, I think this was just like redemption for us, and for me.
And everybody cheering you here. It's been an absolutely incredible atmosphere in the Air Canada Centre here in Toronto. What has it been like playing in front of this crowd and winning a championship here?
Dude, this crowd is nuts. Like, I've not made so many mistakes on stage. Like, I'm not gonna blame the crowd, but like, you guys are so hypey, man. Like, I canceled my gym.
And my final question for you, Doublelift. You guys already punched a ticket to Worlds, but you just stamped it. First seed for North America. You will be representing us at the World Championship in that Pool A. How far does this TSM go?
I could not have been prouder of my teammates. Like, everyone stepped up to the plate when it really mattered. Like, I'm super proud to be able to represent NA. I'm really happy that I was able to play in Canada, which was like, in a long time coming to have an esports event. And I'm just gonna do you guys proud at Worlds.
Well, congratulations, Doublelift, once again. Your 2016 Summer Split Champions, TSM. And we're gonna have an interview with the rest of the team in just a few minutes, but to close out the series, we're gonna throw it back to the casters.
Thank you very much, Zyrene. Excellent interview on the day for you. But now we talk about TSM and how well they played. And, you know, I think every single person pitched in very heavily at certain moments. You had some consistent performers. You had some outstanding performers. There's a player that, honestly, I think deserves player of the game here for consistently playing amazingly, and that is their jungler, Svenskeren.
Yeah, player of the series for Svenskeren. It's a very hard decision that we made here, but we feel like he gave so many advantages to TSM throughout this entire series that it's well-deserved. The playoff buff for Svenskeren, so to speak, and he made it work.
He played fearlessly the entire time, always getting the edge over Meteos in these games, getting aggressive, taking away his camps, getting vision for the team, and making plays when it mattered.
Yeah, honestly, just like crushing it. It made Meteos look completely outclassed. His score lines by comparison, meteorically better here. You know, Sven played just incredible League of Legends. He got his lanes ahead. He found those ganks that tilt the matchups a lot of the time. And, you know, in a match where you were seeing TSM get solo killed or getting killed without any jungle intervention, Svenskeren comes in the next few games and goes, nah, not going to happen on my watch, pops people up, makes them all happen. And I think just did so much work.
Yeah, you think about the way some of these games turned around, like game 2, very early on, Svenskeren gets a kill for
Bjergsen on Jensen in the mid lane.
Yeah, and then the game 4 mine game, when they start at red buff so they can punish Jensen when he's going for Raptors, was such a tone setter in what turned out to be an incredibly close game, but was the clincher for the championship.
Yeah, you imagine if Vlad didn't start out 2-0, 4-0, this game looks very, very different, but TSM had all the Drakes and the Elder afterwards because of all the early pressure. Thanks, Svenskeren, for making that one happen. So a beautiful series for TSM, and now for another perspective on that series, let's head back into Pastry Time, who's standing by with Cloud9 support.
Hey guys, I'm here with Smoothie of Cloud9. First of all, thank you so much for joining me after obviously a tough loss there for you guys. An incredibly competitive series, despite the scoreline. What happened?
I don't know. We basically just underestimated some champions. We didn't play against a lot of like Cassiopeia, for example, and I don't know, Bjergsen just played really well. And TSM in general played really well this series.
Well, I have to say, you guys have had an incredible season as well. And you, of course, being a new player into the LCS, you've had an amazing season to start things off at Cloud9. What have you thought of your play throughout the season? Because from what we can see, it's been incredible.
Well, thanks for you to say that, but I don't know. It's always just a journey, like who improves most, and like this time I just won, I guess. And I don't know. It's been a long journey, and my team has taught me so much. Like before I joined C9, I had no direction. I didn't really know like how to play the game or anything, but I don't know. It's just been pretty awesome being on C9, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Like you said, that journey will be a little longer now for Cloud9. You'll have to play in that gauntlet. Worlds obviously will be a dream, I'm sure, for you, and the rest of your team would love to get back there. For those who have been there before, do you think you can do it? Can you pull through the gauntlet and be the last North American team to represent at Worlds?
Yeah, I think C9, we're really strong, and we're going to keep improving for the gauntlet, and we're going to make it to Worlds. I guarantee it.
Well, before we go, we've heard the crowd already. We know it's your home country here in Canada. How has it been to play in front of your fans, and do you have anything to say to them? Because they have a lot to say to you.
Being in Canada is a great honor. I haven't been back to Canada in like a year since I started playing competitive, so it just feels really, really good to be back here, and I miss everything about it.
Well, Smoothie, thank you so much again for joining me. It's been great to hear from you. But we are going to look to close out the day. Let's go back to Riv and the rest of TSM.
Thank you very much, Pastry, and it is a very huge pleasure to be joined by your 2016 North American LCS champions, TSM. Gentlemen, there's a lot to go over. I do want to be able to talk to each and every one of you. Svenskeren, I want to start with you first. Coming out as player of the series, there was a lot of criticism back in the spring split, and you have largely silenced a lot of that coming into the summer. What was it that switched for you?
I think it's just mainly that we got a lot of team synergy more after the first split, and I think my teammates trusted me a lot more after I did well in last playoffs. So coming into the split was a lot easier, like just adapting and like playing well as a team because I knew all my teammates trust me.
And he's hitting the gym, dude. Swole-scared. Let's go.
The lucky Doublelift came in with that. I was going to ask you to pop and lock. Third, for going to you, Bjergsen, this is your third MVP award, and I wanted to come to you next because Sven and you in the mid lane have a lot going for each other. You keep each other in check, and also this was the way you got into Jensen's head throughout the entire game. Your first MVP award came 3 years ago. What does it actually mean to you now to get this again, 6 splits later?
I mean, obviously it means a lot because I had to go from the first time I got MVP, it was just individual play, mechanics, laning, getting a lot of kills, but now the game has translated into being much more strategic. So for me to be MVP, it means that I have to be smart and I have to make the right decisions. And that's kind of where I try to improve every single day.
And how do you, I have to ask, how do you keep that level of play throughout this entirety of the splits?
I think it's just always being critical of yourself, always thinking that, maybe you had a really good game, but there's still a bunch of things you can do better. You can watch a lot of your replays. Every single day you have to push yourself to improve, and that's the way you're going to keep improving, obviously.
And actually, there's somebody I want to point out, Weldon, who has a lot of improvement that has come to this team. You have done so much from what we've heard. How does it impact the team from your point of view coming in, Bjergsen and Doublelift, 1 and 2 in the votes? Kind of how do you separate something like that when you come to a finals when you still need everybody to work together?
Yeah, I think it's really tough. I think it has a lot to do with clutch potential, being able to pull it out in the game, when it's really needed, and then leadership behind the scenes. But I think that we definitely had a really tough vote this split, and on our team, we kind of, switched back and forth between the votes ourselves. So we also were indecisive.
Well, it came down, obviously, Bjergsen coming out very strong with it, but Doublelift, obviously your play has gotten so much better. A lot of it over the years was talk, and now you've silenced that talk and put the play on the Rift. Now the first one to win 2 North American LCS championships on 2 different teams. How does that compare? What does it mean for you from then to now?
Well, first, I just want to point out how it's so funny that now that we won, TLG goes to Worlds, so it's like 2 years in a row. TLG relies on me to carry them to Worlds. It's ridiculous.
Whoa.
And the other thing is,
Spicy.
I don't know, like joining TSM, it was like a fresh start. You know, on CLG there was a lot of baggage, and I managed to like wade through it. But it's like a totally new experience. I was able to like sort of reinvent myself, and all my teammates are super supportive. Whenever I do something stupid, they call me out on it, and I just really respect that everyone here is super hardworking, and we're all good friends too.
Great friend. Great friends, hardworking. That brings me to Biofrost. Very hardworking, coming out of the Challenger Series, now getting to play in that hometown game. I have to ask you, Biofrost, in your rookie split, rookie of the split, a championship victory and now a chance at Worlds. What does that mean to you?
It just feels surreal. I never would have thought I would be at this point like 3 months ago. So it's definitely really nice, and the crowd's super amazing. They're very supportive, and it just feels really great.
I remember when we did the Rookie of the Split interview, you told me you were very surprised to be even offered a spot on TSM, so I can't imagine what you guys are going through now with this victory here and that rookie bottom lane. Haunter, I want to come to you next. The top lane has been a place where TSM has absorbed so much aggression over the split. It has been absolutely crazy, and just last season yourself, you faced the expansion tournament, trying to get in, making sure everything was going to be right for you, and you've always stated that you want to be the best top laner in NA. Being voted that all-pro top laner, do you feel like you've actually achieved that for yourself now?
I think there's like a debate between like all the three like best tops of the top 3 teams, but I definitely think I'm up there, and we'll just have to like prove myself at Worlds and see how I do there.
Absolutely great mentality. Always leaving that space open that there's somebody better than you, and you have to keep achieving to be the greatest. Finally, coming to Parth, a fantastic split all along, one of the most dominant we've seen from Team Solo Mid. We spoke a little bit about, coach of the split and how that is really given to everybody on the team, you felt. What does it mean for you, though? What is it like been watching these players grow? You have been one of the longest standing coaches now on TSM. There's been a lot of in and out. What does it mean to you watch these players grow? And beyond this win, what are you most proud about?
I just remember last year when we lost at MSG, and we lost again at Worlds and MSI. It was just super depressing. And I think one of the biggest reasons why I stayed with TSM even after last year was because of Bjergsen and how hard he works. And then this year we just got to see a bunch of players who also share the same goal and are also equally as hardworking. So it was just a pleasure to work with all of them. And yeah, it's been awesome.
Well, it's been awesome for the fans. Obviously, an awesome record and awesome going to Worlds as your first seed. Ladies and gentlemen, your 4-time NA LCS champions and first seed going to Worlds, TSM. Now for more on closing thoughts, we're going to head it over to Freak, Jat, and Azale.
Thank you very much, Riv. And, well, this is the last time we get to talk here in front of this amazing audience here in Toronto. What else do you guys want to say about this incredible match?
It's been really great. And I think about Team Solomon's journey from losing the finals at Madison Square Garden and seeing the crowd chant CLG, the name of their biggest rivals, to coming here to Toronto for a super hype crowd to then chant TSM has got to feel great for them. And just the journey that Bjergsen and Parth and those guys have gone on is really impressive.
I think just looking at the split as a whole, you can't say that any team deserved it more than TSM, and they proved that here today. One of the most amazing regular seasons in the summer split, and then coming through in playoffs, and they have high hopes going to Worlds.
I agree. They've only lost one match all through the regular season, or the regular split, I should say, and only one game throughout the playoffs. A 6-1 run, certainly dominant is one of the best words to use to describe TSM. You heard Doublelift say, I'm going to do you guys proud. I'm playing for North America. We've worked so hard. I love all of my teammates. We're all good friends. We've all got this goal. And now the next stop for TSM is representing North America, a region that's gotten smashed so often at Worlds. We're the butt of so many jokes, but now picking up where CLG left off at MSI. Coincidentally bringing them along to World and saying, let's go, let's make this one count.
Every year there's refreshed hope. Hope springs eternal for North America. TSM does actually look very good. And as long as they can maintain a fast style of play like they got back to towards games 3 and 4 of this series, I think they have a chance to make some noise.
And I think that with their performance here today, that gives them that confidence to continue playing aggressively. And you saw even throughout that series, the progression as that confidence was built to play more and more aggressive, to play more and more decisive.
So as long as they can keep that happening, I know it got slowed down because they were nervous, and the question is, do these players get nervous going into Worlds? I know in the semis it was like, ooh, CLG upset us twice in a row. In the finals, we don't want that to happen here. And then game one, it happened again against C9, but they shook that off, and if that form remains, then that's a really big deal here.
Yeah, and I think that's also why games in places like this are so important for their growth, because the pressure is never higher than when there's 15,000 plus screaming fans, like as you're walking on stage and hyping them up. And you could tell they're a little jittery at the start of the game. But by those final team fights in game 4, they were playing at the top of their game.
Absolutely agree. So that's going to do it here for us. Thank you so much, Toronto. We're going to send it down to the analysts, though, to close out the weekend.
Great cast on the day and the weekend to everybody, gentlemen. And now to finally discuss what has gone down on the weekend, I do have to...
Thank you.
Congratulations, 3-1. You voted correctly. The only one on the
committee.
TSM would take it.
Little did you know, Rev, I was a TSM fan all along, black and white. Look at this. There we go.
I dressed black and white.
All right, well, these guys live in a delusion.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about why you actually thought TSM was going to be able to come out victorious in this series.
The biggest thing to me was just, I think, how they match up. We identified that, like, individual skill-wise, they seem very similar, but I think TSM over the course of the season has always found ways to just make plays happen. They're not always the biggest, the flashiest, and I think we saw a great example of it where in this game, Bjergsen's able to get the flash off Jensen, and a minute and a half later they come back and they're able to kill him. It's those kinds of plays that they've been making over and over again to the point where I thought that over the course of a series they would make more of those kinds of plays to win the whole thing.
Also, it's their ability to deal with failures, right? These games were not perfect. Both teams were making mistakes, and yet it's the team that's able to come back after making a mistake and then follow that up with the correct play over and over, without going down that path and spiraling out of control.
And it takes kind of switching things up at the last moment. We're going to bring up our first replay here to get into that because this was absolutely crazy. So many questions to go around this is, why don't we see things like this more? But let's focus on
We
this
see
first.
Sven starting red buff, and we've seen Talias do this time and time again, and just such a great play. As soon as we see them, you make the read, not even from how Jensen's playing the lane, but just from the pick itself. Talias have been doing this all the time.
Exactly.
Just from that play alone, Bjergsen's already winning lane. Lane's over, you've lost.
Yeah, and I think that's such a big thing, too, because the whole plan of C9 there was, you have the stronger bot lane and top lane. You get the Talia out of lane at 6 and starts trying to snowball those lanes. And the fact that she was kind of getting dumpstered in the early parts partially due to that play, it just set up the early game to go in TSM's favor, which obviously, it didn't snowball as hard as we might have thought, but getting through that early game through the strength of the mid lane play was
And it
important.
slows Talia down so much.
You're
You
right.
want to see that champion go to the side lanes with her ult non-stop, and we barely saw it, and that just has to do with how much pressure she was under from that first blood play. And it's so disheartening to play a game where right from the start, 2 minutes in, the main focus of your plan is already fallen through.
The importance of planning, right? Going into the game, they planned this from the champion select screen, right? And that gave them such a big, lead in the early game. As you said, it wasn't over after that, right? Meteos made a really good counterplay on the bottom side, just get something going for Cloud9. That's why this ended up being so close, to try and focus on the Doublelift lane and try and get him behind.
And like you said, the planning is so interesting. What you can go back and see with Bjergsen continuously taking the Cassios. The last time that's then banned against C9, so they'll probably take the Talia. Oh, great, we can use that Talia strat. There could be so much that went into this, and it could have just been that pick ban. But you see how TSM has these things played out already. And the last 2 games came down to just about those last 5v5 fights. We're going to bring up now 40-30 into this game with Doublelift going huge. And this is what these fights take. We saw Impact doing the same thing on the other side to try and win it for them.
Oh, God, this was such a hard-fought, game in itself, and then this fight in particular was just so close. This wall by Jensen's actually going to be really good to split up Doublelift from the rest of the front line, and it allows C9 to just focus the front 2 most members, with Doublelift not really being able to throw any autos in here until, right about the very end.
They get the critical kill onto Bjergsen, and they see Doublelift low, but he had saved the heal. Something that Doublelift does so often, keeps on baiting at extremely low health, saves his defensive cooldowns for that last second to draw you in, and then the counterattack from TSM.
And the heartbreaker for me was watching C9 do this every time. They're so good at the fights. They started off, they know what to look for, but they keep pushing just too hard. And every time they pushed too
Oh,
hard.
my heart. Stop that.
That reaction so many times.
They pushed too many times where they shouldn't have. Instead of playing the TSM game where you take the advantage and then you pull back, look for it again, and eventually each chip away is going to be bigger, they keep looking for the massive play. We want to ace you right away, and that's just not the way that the current meta is played.
And it's a double-edged sword, right? It's so easy for us to be like, oh, yeah, that's doing it way too hard. But in the same thing, oh, why are they waiting so long? Why aren't they taking these opportunities? League of Legends is such a strategic game now. It's all about good decision-making.
Yeah, it was a split-second decision for Jensen. They flash in there, which puts him right into the culling and just gets blown up. And a second ago, he was close to full health.
And they had the lead, right? They had just killed Bjergsen.
Yeah, you think that fight's going so well and just other way.
It's how it happens. That is League of Legends. And now with our summer final champions crowned, we can take a look back at the completed playoff bracket. TSM are your 2016 NA LCS Summer Champions. This auto-qualifies them on, and quite a road to get here throughout the summer split. They almost made it easier for themselves, and that's the way you got to do it. Give yourself the easy road. We've doled out all the championship points available for the 2016 NA LCS season, with TSM auto-qualifying in, as we said, as the first seed. CLG has earned second seed with a total of 130 championship points. And obviously the faith was coming in from CLG fans. Even Stixay himself said, I want that TSM jersey. TSM and CLG will now join the other 8 teams who have already qualified for Worlds, and those are from Korea's LCK, ROX Tigers and SKT, from China's LPL, EDG, RNG, and recently IME, from the European LCS, G2 and H2K, as we saw this weekend, and from the LMS, Flash Wolves, with now the North American LCS having TSM representing first and CLG at second. The remaining 4 NA LCS playoff teams are all back in action next weekend, with North America's 3rd seed at Worlds on the line. The NA LCS Regional Qualifier is a gauntlet-style tournament that kicks off Saturday at noon Pacific and continues through Monday, September 5th. Mark it on your calendars. You better be there. Tune in to watch as Liquid, Team Envy, Cloud9, and Immortals battle it out for their last chance to qualify at Worlds. It has been a crazy split, crazier to see the teams that we're still seeing go into the gauntlet that we thought would we already be riding that Worlds ticket.
And from what we've seen today and yesterday, it's hard to think that Team Liquid and Envy are going to be able to put up much of a fight against Cloud9 against Immortals.
That's true.
It's most likely looking like a rematch of the semifinal matchup that went to best of 5. And if that best of 5, that Cloud9 was able to go to almost 5 games against TSM, I mean, the number 1 to 3 seeds of NA are going to be
well, hey, you're hoping, right? You were those guys' practice partners coming into this, so maybe you have an idea.
Yeah, I think the hard thing, though, is that C9 and Immortals didn't seem too upset by their loss. Well, Immortals won, but C9 didn't seem too upset by their loss. You heard Smoothie be like, I guarantee it, we're going to Worlds. And to have so much confidence as well as just getting a lot of on-stage practice in the current meta, I think that they're just a step ahead of the other teams there in the regional qualifier.
They really understand what it means to run the gauntlet. There's the experience there, as well as kind of having a voice of Meteos come back in, something that they had been losing, and now he's finding this drive. It feels like with those options of Zach, maybe that does throw off some of the lower teams, those pocket picks that they can bring out. It's going to be difficult for them. We see Immortals as well, like you said, obviously going to be very tough to stop them going through. Is there any chance? Do we see somebody maybe knocking them down because of what happens to them at the end of the
this gauntlet is going to be extremely exciting. The number 2 and number 3 placing teams from Summer are fighting for that one spot, and only one person gets to go, right? Because CLG made it off of points, so they get to slip right by them.
It's going to be so
through the crack. Like, we made it.
Like, nobody look what happened here. Spring split, baby. It matters.
Hey, they at least took Immortals to Game 5, and C9 took Immortals to Game 5 as well. So I just think the whole tournament's going to be pretty crazy.
All right, well, that is going to do it for us here at the Air Canada Centre. We want to thank the kind folks here at the venue and all of our Canadian fans for bringing the love. Now, for myself, the casters, analysts, and the entire live broadcast crew, thanks for joining us here, and I think I can say for all of us, oh, Canada! We'll see you at the regional qualifier.
Yeah, Canada!